Just a Job is the podcast for the modern woman to redefine what success looks like. We highlight real women and their real stories. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Just a Job with Ellen and Sarah. Today we have Sheridan's interview, which, by the way, I just remembered this. One of the girls that we met at Kappa had a very she sounded like she wanted to go down like a really more like fashion route and kind of had a start in a very similar way that Sheridan did. So I need to did we connect with her?
Oh, we should though, because they both had the making t-shirts.
Mm-hmm. Like, what a cool connection, and also what interesting timing. So anyways, we've got Sheridan's episode. Before we jump in, we have a couple of stand-up notes. So hey Sarah, how's it going?
Hi, I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. All things are fabulous over here.
Always fabulous. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about today are products or companies that the two of us are currently loving, want to support, and want other people to support.
Yes.
I can start.
Yep. Give us your list.
Number one, Evlo. If you haven't heard me talk about this, it is a group of physical therapists. One actually went to KU. The founder went to KU Med, so woo woo. And they have a fitness platform that focuses on strength training, which isn't something that I ever found myself to enjoy. I don't like the gym. Michael says I'm a different animal in the gym because it's so male dominated. I swear every time I'm in the gym, I'm just like texting Michael because I'm so angry, or like texting friends. I'm like, oh my God, who wants a crotch shot of this man over here?
And it's like men grunting and they stink.
Exactly.
And
Yes. So for me, I think I associated weightlifting to that, but that's the complete opposite. And that is not the environment that Evlo creates. So it's a fitness app. I think it's like $55 a month. And based on your preferences, they'll spit out a workout for you. It's around 35 minutes, 5 minutes warm up, 5 minutes cool down. They have music. It's perfect. And the instructors do the workout with you. And so I have used it for about a year and some change now, and like definitely saw an improvement in my body. But also too, I realized with the race, it helped me so much, like building physical endurance, but also mental endurance, because I like never enjoyed working out. And so, that is the first one that I had. Plus it's female founded, female owned, and we love that.
100%. I'm glad that you're still doing it too, because I remember, you talking about it in previous episodes, and what a testament to be able to say like, yeah, I liked it, but I'm still doing it. And especially with like any health and wellness product, like particularly fitness, like being able to stick with something is so hard, and that you've been able to stick with it this long and enjoy it and still recommend it. Kudos.
Thanks Evlo team.
Thanks.
Popcorn, Ellen.
Popcorn, me. Okay. I actually used this. Actually, it's not a product, this tool yesterday, because I've got a couple of weddings coming up this year. And I think this is like a newer wedding trend. And I think it's so cute. For one of my best friends, Charlotte, I'm going to be her something blue as part of the wedding party, which I think is so cute. And she sent this like little, I'll have to find it and show it to you, of like the description behind it. But the something borrowed, something blue, something old, and something new. That's how she's like doing her wedding party, which is just so cute. So I've been on the hunt for a blue dress, and I found one from Reformation that was adorable, but Reformation is on the expensive side. I think it was like almost a $300 dress. So there's this tool called Benny, where you can do Oh no, were you gonna talk about this?
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm throwing my phone.
Yeah, the Chrome extension.
Yes. And so you can either do the extension, or on your phone you can do shop Benny dot and the remainder of the URL. And so I was able to find, and what it does is it generates all secondhand listings of that specific item. So it searches through like Poshmark, Depop, the Real, all of that fun stuff. So you can either do it that way, or you can search the inverse. So you can go to their website itself and say, I want to shop like Reformation things or Anthropology, etc. And you can skim through that way. And so I found a dress through them from secondhand, brand new with tags, for less expensive, of exactly what I was looking for. And I saved a couple of bucks doing it, and it's secondhand. So I really I've shopped around a little bit, never actually had made a purchase, and I used it literally the other day. So, and I think it's female owned and
Mhm.
founded as well, which is incredible. So, I mean, fashion, women owned. It is also sustainable, which we love all of those things. And
Mhm.
firsthand experience, that is a brand and a company I am interested in supporting and
Yes,
continue to support.
absolutely. Lauren Tierney actually met the founder.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
we talked about it. Yeah, Benny came in handy with Christmas shopping because
Mm.
it was lovely.
Hmm.
Yes, great platform. Yeah, you can do the Chrome extension or search on their site. But if you haven't used it, it's BENI. Definitely go check it out. That's a good one. It
100%.
wasn't on my list, but you sang it. I was like, duh, it needs to be on my list. I feel like I'm just repeating myself, but this is the other fun one. Aura ring. I love it.
Mm.
I'm not usually like a wearables. I tried to get on the Apple Watch bandwagon. I got on that and like quickly fell off of it. I love the ring because it feels very it's just like more health focused. It's not like gamifying
Yeah.
your health. It's just like giving you insights. That's not like, "Oh, you won this challenge." And like I don't
Yeah.
feel like I feel bad or feel great if I have a good or a bad day. And it's just been really interesting to see like the impact that certain stress levels have on my day, how like restorative time and how important it is. And then obviously too with the female side of it. And honestly, the company is so female focused, like female health
Mhm.
focused, which the founders have like been very open about. It's a missed market, truthfully. So it's
Mhm.
been really interesting to see all of that. And now that I've had it for 4 months, like after you make it past the 90-day window, you get all these additional insights now that it knows more of your body. So I love my Aura ring.
100%. I feel like I also had an Apple Watch for a while and I was just like, I don't want another screen
Mm-hmm.
or
Yeah.
another like a way for information to ping me and annoy me. Like I simply want it for like the health
Yeah.
knowledge and benefit. And like you said, it doesn't gamify it. It literally just it presents you with the information and you can decide what to do with that, what you will, which is very helpful. And
Yeah.
it feels more like a support to your health and wealth journey versus like a detractor or like a stimulus, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and it's so much more discreet. Like, I barely notice that I have the ring on, but like, I can't
Mm-hmm.
sleep with a watch on. I don't know. That just, I couldn't wear it to bed. Very much more feels like a piece of a part of your lifestyle than
Mm-hmm.
like an addition to, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree.
Um, but I echo your sentiment. I love it. It's so nice.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Okay, what other like products and things am I loving?
Or company.
Or company. Oh, we talked about this earlier, but Dish, like they continue to
Mm.
do either, okay, now that I remember sustainability, they have like a lot of sustainability pledges, their maternity leave policies that they've like continued to build out, I think is super impressive. Um, and I just love their clothing. So I will continue to like ring the bell for Dish. They're just it's a place that I would like to continue contributing my dollars towards.
Yeah.
And fun fact, they are also with Benny, so you can, double dip there if you want to.
Amazing. Well, this was fun. So maybe we like integrate this a little bit more because I like talking about
Yeah.
products because voting with your dollars is just as important as going to the polls.
Amen.
Yes. But another company that has quickly become our favorite, Sheridan's company. So
Yes.
Sheridan will talk a little bit more about her company, how she built it, and where she's at right now. So we're excited to share her episode with you, and we'll see you in there.
Hey, everybody, we're going to jump into an episode with Sheridan French. She is not only a successful Texas based women's clothing designer known for adding color and joy to getting dressed up, but she's also a mom of 6. She got her start in luxury fashion overseas and started her brand as a young mom many years ago. The real challenge came through when she continued to build her brand while going through a divorce and then as a single mom. Today, now remarried, she balances a life as a mom of 6 and an entrepreneur. Her brand is in boutiques across the country and a few in the Caribbean and outside of the US. The brand has exciting collaborations coming up with Hat Attack, Beaufort Bonnet Company, Oh My Mahjong, and more. Welcome, Sheridan, to the podcast. We're so excited to have you.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here.
We're happy to have you. Just before we started recording, we were talking about how I am a fashion lover, and I should have stepped my game up more today because I just have a very sad little navy sweater on. But that was the pick out of my closet this morning when I was really quickly trying to get ready for work, and then for this as well. So, Sheridan, we are going to take it back. What is the job? What was the role? What did you want to do when you were growing up?
So I wanted to be a fashion designer. I
That's cool.
have always just had that in my line of sight. And when I was in middle school, I started embellishing t-shirts and took them to some boutiques around town, like around TCU, which is the college in Fort Worth where I grew up, and see if anyone would pick them up. And one did, and they kept selling out. So that was my first experience into doing this as a business. I was 12 years old when I did that.
Wow.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I'm sorry. Did you say middle school? While other kids are like, while other kids are, I mean, nowadays, like playing video games and such, you're out here pitching yourself
I
Yeah.
and
was.
running a little empire as a 12-year-old. That's insane.
Yeah, it was so much fun. I loved it. I would just sit on my back porch and, sew things on, or my mom would help. She's an interior designer and a seamstress. So yeah, she was always super supportive. And anyway, that's where I started.
Oh, that's crazy. I was going to ask where you drew inspiration because I think that majority of the women that we speak to, what they want to be when they were growing up was because of the people that they were around, whether it was their teachers or their mothers or I don't know, just people in the community. So it sounds like you had a very strong influence from your mom. Take us through what it was like to I don't even want to say juggle school and like this passion project, but like, how long did you work on this and then where did it lead you into come high school and college?
Yeah, no, I did it for several years, and I do come from this long line of creative women. My great grandmother was a seamstress, and I actually designed my first gown with her for one of my friends' bat mitzvahs. She and my mom helped me design it and do the pattern and sew it and everything. And then my grandmother is an artist, and my mom does interior design, so I really didn't have a choice. There's nothing else in my blood other than that. So yeah, my path was determined for me by my genes. Um, so yeah, I mean, I was babysitting in middle school, but I just wanted to make money a different way,
Mhm.
and loved anytime I could create something. So yeah, I just went to Gap and got some t-shirts and started sewing like snaps on and buttons and different cutouts of fabric. And then I did it for several years. I kind of slowed down in high school, at the tail end of high school, just because I wanted to focus on school. I'm also a big huge nerd and love studying. um, so yeah, that was kind of my the beginning of my journey. And I looked into going to schools like FIT or Parsons specific to design.
Mhm.
But I didn't want to pigeonhole myself in if I ended up not loving it, in 10
Right.
years or 15 years and not have any other skill sets. So I decided to go the business route, and felt if I have the creativity, I'm always going to have that. I wanted to learn business knowledge, so I could do something more productive and constructive with those design skills that I had. So that's what I did, and my whole family, grandparents on down, had gone to TCU, and I did not want to stay in Fort Worth. I wanted to get as far out as I could. So I actually went to Europe, and it was amazing. I got involved in student run fashion shows there, which typically like wouldn't be a big thing, but Will and Kate were the year ahead of me and in the shows. And so designers were just pumping stuff in to hopefully be featured on, Kate walking down the runway in them. And get a good press shot. So I was exposed to a lot of really big name designers, like Armani was sending stuff and Prada was sending stuff and Miu Miu and Burberry. I mean, it was crazy. Um, so I got all those contacts and ended up securing a position at the Prada press office, an internship while I was there. And so started working there during my summers while I was over there in London. Um,
So hang on a second. We started from t-shirts and embellishing, and then we're jumping to Prada and Armani and working in Europe. I
Yeah.
mean, that is incredible. It surely sounds like you are very much a product of your environment. Having the creative women around you that made careers out of those, I would say, is probably unique. In that, we talk a lot about women with their upbringings, and you see it either on a movie or a friend's parent or your own parent that is in a more, I'll say, like typical structured work environment versus
mhm.
having all of these creative figures around you. And again, having made careers out of those, like, why not pursue that yourself? And I also like that you made the choice to pursue business. That sounds like a very well rounded way to think about your career. And like you said, I'm always going to have that creative piece. I know I have that passion and that like drive to take my career in that way. But again, like having that business aspect is so smart to be able to, if you want to make a career out of this, you've got that creative piece, but then having the learnings be in the business space to be able to catapult you into success, which it sounds like it has, again, is a really great way to think about structuring your career and being strategic in how you go about it, which I'm like, how old were you when you made that decision? Like, how did you even have the foresight to make a decision like that?
Um, I was 17 when I
It's
moved to
crazy.
Scotland. Yeah, because I started school early. I actually skipped kindergarten. I was 5 in first grade, and so I was super young for
Mhm.
my class. And yeah, I was only 17 when I moved, and
That
I
is
didn't know a soul.
wild. And it again sounded like a lot of family members were one in the area, but then two, there was this tradition of going to the same school and you broke that tradition. What was your family's reaction to that? What was the catapult for you to want to do something different and go to Europe?
Oh man, my mom was so sad that I wasn't going to go back
Yeah.
at TCU. Like her life dream for me. Um, so I just Fort Worth felt so small,
Mhm.
and I mean, I came back there. I never planned on coming back when I left, but it turns out it's not so bad of a place. But to my teenage self, it was just a very small, and I felt restricted, and I just knew I wanted something more. I grew up in a land of khakis and polos, and that was just not me. And I had, you know, been like weird and dressed weird ever since I was little. Like my mom let me dress myself from the time I was a toddler, and I would wear belts as necklaces and headbands and stuff. And so not that it wasn't that I didn't fit in. I just knew there was so much more that I hadn't seen yet. But I didn't intend to go international. It hadn't even entered my mind that there were like colleges outside of the States. Um, I was looking through like that big, thick Princeton review book. Do you remember that? And it had like 11 billion colleges in it. Um, and like there were so many that were cool, but none of them like it just felt like TCU in a different place. I didn't have a
Mm,
connection with
mm.
anywhere. So I was on a trip to Europe with the juniors and seniors of my high school one summer before my junior year, and we were all in Edinburgh. And one of my dad's first cousins, who was from Texas, did oil in Texas, did then moved to Aberdeen, Scotland, to do oil, and retired to St Andrews with his wife, who's Scottish, and they have a little bed and breakfast on the old course. So
Cute.
St Andrews is only an hour north of Edinburgh. So when the whole group was there, I just thought I haven't seen him since I was like 10. I'll go up and say hi. When am I going to get another chance to be over
Mhm.
here again? Um, anyway, so that's what I did. I popped on the train and went up and saw I stepped onto the streets of St. Andrews. They're cobblestone. There's like 3 streets actually. And the quad was built in 1410. I was like walking around Hogwarts and I thought, this is amazing. And I applied there, and then SMU was a backup. And I was accepted. So I thought, I'll try. If I don't like it, or if it's too rainy or whatever, I'll just come back. So yeah, I that's how I ended up there, and didn't know anything about the fashion shows that were there. I just was this very wide-eyed and bushy-tailed 17-year-old. I had no idea what she was doing, and I suddenly found myself on the other side of the world.
Oh,
But it was
I love
wonderful.
it. I feel like you're describing the start of a movie.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you've ever heard that, but thinking like Fort Worth is not small, but like small town Texas girl moves to Scotland. I'm like, oh my gosh, why didn't somebody pick up on this and write a book or star in a
What about
movie?
Free
writing a
ideas.
book? There's
Yeah.
so much. I need to write a book.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this podcast can be considered the start of your mini book,
Okay.
maybe. But
Yes.
Deal.
so you get accepted, you move over there. The transition, I assume, especially as a 17-year-old, the transition into college is difficult as it is. But how was the experience for you? And then, what were some of those first courses that you were taking
Oh
that
my
like
God, I
really
loved it.
continued that fashion interest?
There was like no transition. I just jumped in the deep end.
Yeah, that's fair.
It was fine. Um, it was such a cool cosmopolitan mix of kids. Um, and I think everyone going there, just has such a different sense of like, um, adventure, wanting to do
Mhm.
something different. There were a handful of other Americans, but really it was kind of like they were doing their a junior semester abroad. There weren't many 4-year Americans. Um, and so the ones that were 4 years, like we found each other. But I had friends from, Belgium and Greece and Egypt and France and Spain. Like you're sitting at the pub, and I felt I'm not dumb, but I felt so unintelligent when I was there, only speaking one language.
Mm.
My friends would switch mid conversation, depending on who they were talking to or at the table, from French to Italian to German. And I'm just, in this, as far as I'm concerned, this dream la la land of, who are these people? What am I doing here? So I just felt like every moment was a gift, and didn't struggle to find people, or it's just every moment was wonderful. And then so the first classes, St. Andrews is interesting. Scottish universities are 3 years, typically. St. Andrews offers a 4-year program where if you start taking courses from the first year in what you want your degree in, then you get a master's at the end of 4 years. And so I jumped right in with business and management courses in year one. And then I did some art history and philosophy, international relations. It's all very traditional. There's no communication, nothing like that. I mean, it's very kind of classic education, so to speak. So there is nothing, fancy or fun,
None of the
compared to
fluffy
these
stuff.
cool courses that you get now at colleges. But I loved it all. I mean, it was amazing. We're sitting in a, building, again, built in the, 1400s, like right on the North Sea, doing a tutorial with 8 other
Wild.
people. I mean, it was nuts. And Sean Connery's house is like out the window too.
There's like if anyone that has ever been to Europe, there is nothing more humbling than looking outside of the United States and being like, "Oh, I'm just a dumb American,"
We're
and you hear,
babies.
yes, and you
There's
hear these, you're just immersed in a different culture and you hear different languages, and your eyes are opened to this completely different way of life,
Mhm.
especially so young. And like Sarah and I, we went to Germany in like around Thanksgiving last year,
Mhm.
and we're trying to keep our heads down and not be the obnoxious Americans, but also be have a like eyes wide open approach of like,
Mhm.
okay, we're here and we're wanting to learn about different cultures and experience different languages and foods and, be fully immersed in the history, which it sounds like that was very much a part of your experience as well. And I'm curious. I know that you didn't go to college in the States, but I can only imagine the differences between like a super old, I went to Alabama, Sarah went to K-State, like I would say pretty traditional,
Mhm.
old
Mhm.
school American college experiences versus in a different country, immersed with like various backgrounds of and like very traditional courses as well. So, but like I'm thinking about all of the differences between the two and how, well, one, I'm kind of jealous, but also, it's to have that experience so young, I'm sure really shaped how you looked at your career and what you wanted to do, and just seeing again all of the different people and courses and things that are you're surrounded with, I'm sure really shaped what you were looking to do in the future. So during your schooling time, did you have any internships, or like when you went through, you graduated the 4 year, you got your master's, then you started working? Like what was work like during school, if any?
So I started interning at the Prada press office after my first year
Okay.
in London.
Mhm.
And I I reached out to so many people and heard back from three that agreed to interview me: Prada, Mulberry, and Annie Henmarch. And went to all of them. And uh, I would have gotten great experience with any of the three, but just the name Prada was so,
Mhm.
glittery. And I thought, of course, I've got to do this. So I accepted that one. And um, yeah, just lived in London all summer. And the offices, um, that helped shape my design aesthetic and kind of freedom to really do whatever I wanted. I had never been in an office environment before. Everything that I had seen prior, was on a movie, and it was very corporate feeling, as you would imagine. And I guess is standard. I've never been in another office environment since. I don't really know what I'm talking about. Um, but, I walked in that first day expecting to see a lot of suits and like cubicle, like quiet.
Mhm.
And I just was not prepared. And I walk in and it is like a bunch of Italians. So everyone was Italian except for me. Another intern was from Korea. And then the Miu Miu head press officer was British. Everyone else was Italian. And they were like one girl was wearing this big feather thing on her head. And like the men, like some of them were just wearing jackets without shirts underneath. And I was just like, what have I just stepped
Whoa.
into? It felt like the
Mhm.
Twilight Zone. And, people were like sitting on the tops of the cubicles. And um, it was just so much fun. Um, so it really just, I was like in another world that I didn't even know existed. And it just was so freeing. As I said, comparing that to the environment in Texas of private school, country club, Ralph Lauren pastels,
Mhm.
it was so cool. It was
Ooh,
just amazing. It like knocked my socks off in the best way. So I couldn't wait to show up every
Oh
morning.
my gosh. Another reason why this should be a movie, because the way that you just described it, I was picturing it in my
yeah.
head and I was like, I feel like I'm there witnessing all of it. Like just these very creative, free spirit. I'm sure in that moment you're like, I have made it. I am where I'm
Yes.
supposed to be. Like the
So
younger girl that was
awesome.
wearing belts and scarves is like, this is where I was supposed to be this whole
Yes.
time. Um,
Yes.
I
So let
imagine.
me
Oh
explore.
yeah, go ahead. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
like I
Yeah.
remember like it took me a little bit of time to like wear something different than like jeans and a jumper or sweater. I still mix up words sometimes, like British words and American words. A jumper is a sweater. And, but like, I finally one day I remember I wore this like maxi skirt that was like white with these big, huge blue flowers on it. And I put it with this hot pink button down, like men's shirt that I got at a thrift store with this really thick snakeskin belt. And I think I had like a lime green plastic necklace on. Um, and I just felt like so free and happy. And I would have never felt comfortable enough to do that. And it wouldn't even have entered my mind,
Mhm.
had I not been exposed to the
Sure.
possibilities. I think our brains can only take us so far until we see the other possibilities that are out there. Then it like is a key to unlocking so many other doors.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Like the layer, the like peeling it back, and also just physically being in a space that provides this like layer of acceptance.
mhm,
Um especially for such like an outward presentation of who you are. Like
mhm.
clothing really is such a way to show the world like how you're feeling, what you're thinking. It's just a form of expression. So I love that you were able to step into it and try fun things on. And I would love to dig up some photos because you even just describing that outfit again. I was like, oh my gosh, I want to see this.
I do have a
Um,
photo of that day actually
yeah,
somewhere.
please. Okay, well, like insert it here. But you mentioned that this was an internship. So, like all good things, it must come to an end. But you had mentioned that you had interned there, I think, every summer. Like, what
Mhm.
was the role and like how long did you stay with Prada? Or what was the transition while you were in school? And then maybe what led you into your first job post graduation?
It was honestly, it was just pretty basic. It was kind of whatever they needed us to do. And it could be,
Hmm.
um, entering in samples that were returned to the computer or arranging a courier service for this, runway look coat number 17 to go from Vogue to Tatler or whatever, to get shoot. So it was a lot of just kind of the grunt work, the back end work.
Okay.
But I loved every second of it. And
Hmm.
even just taking the pieces out of the courier packages, and seeing the embellishments, like that was the highlight of my day. Whatever I was going to open and, you know, learn from. And I always put embellishments on things in my line
Hmm.
because I saw the way, Miuccia did it. With those collections that I got to witness firsthand while I was there.
Love it.
And okay, sure, maybe some grunt work, but like again, being able to touch and
Oh my
see
gosh.
and
It
Yeah.
to
was,
like interact with all of the garments, I'm sure it was just like exhilarating. How
oh my
cool.
gosh, it was amazing. And the closet, like it was just so big and just like 3 rows of racks and just shoes and accessories. I mean, it's like everything that you imagine it would be like Devil Wears Prada. It is that.
100%.
And it was
Oh
just
my gosh.
amazing. But everyone was really nice. No one was
Good.
mean like that. Everyone was so
I'm
sweet.
sure you get asked that a lot. Like, what was
Right.
your experience like? Because
Oh, they were
growing
the
up,
best.
that was the epitome of working in fashion was the
Hmm.
experience of Anne and Devil Wears Prada.
They
So
were so sweet. I've never had anyone be mean to me in the office. The manager was outstanding. Like, it was just the best. It was the best.
Good. Well, that also, I'm sure, helped shape the future because, again, like I even think of like, watching The Hills and the girls interning for Teen Vogue and, getting yelled at for
I just
whatever
don't
it
get
may
it.
be.
Like,
But
why do they have to be
no.
mean? I don't
yeah,
understand.
it does. It has this very like scary layer to fashion of, you work all these long, crazy hours, which I'm sure maybe you do at some point, but, it's all this like hierarchy and people being mean, which thank you to the movies and television for that. But I'm glad that you had a good
It
experience.
was. Well, and I
Hmm.
just don't understand either. Like, I hate that that's continually promoted
Yeah, right.
because I don't feel like that's the message we want to send to young girls is this is how women are.
Right.
So that really does, that irritates me, especially with my daughters and
Mhm.
how I'm, pouring into them and raising them. And I don't want them to feel like they need to feed off of a toxic culture that somehow like, um, I don't know. I don't understand getting a dopamine hit from putting someone else down. I don't get that. So,
Amen. Well, that could be a whole other topic of conversation. I'm like, I definitely could go on for ages about that, which maybe I'm like mental bookmark for later in the conversation. Take us through like the first couple of years after school. Were you still in Europe? Were you bouncing around? What was that time like?
so no, I moved back to
Okay.
Texas, got married fairly quickly, and then had babies just as fast. And I was already feeling, I wasn't sure what I knew I wanted to do something creative. I wasn't sure what. My mom and I kind of toyed around with a business for a little bit of doing crib bedding, but that just didn't feel right. And so I took a pause for just like I guess during my first pregnancy. And while I guess, yeah, he was 9 months old. So very early on, already after he was born, just feeling I am not fulfilled. Like I
Mhm.
knew I loved being a mom, but I could not quote unquote just be a mom. I needed more. And so when he was 9 months old, I reached out to a good friend of mine from St. Andrews, who had done stuff on the fashion shows with me. Um, and she had grown up in Bali. And so got in touch with her and said, hey, I need you to put me like in contact with someone in Bali who can help me make something. Like, I don't really know what I'm going to do, but this is my idea. So she did that, and I had a contact there, boots on the ground that could go to the markets for me and get fabric. And I just asked them, I said, make me tunics. However this happens, make me tunics. And 3 months later, I had samples in hand, and I while all that was happening, I was compiling a spreadsheet of like boutiques that I would want to sell my things in, and got around 300 or so on a list, and had called to get the buyers names or the manager, whoever I needed to send a lookbook to. And I had paper lookbooks printed out then, once we had the samples and photographed them, made a lookbook. And I heard back from 10 of the 300 something, and 7 wanted to place an order. And so that was enough for me to break even. And so I reinvested every penny back into it. And at that time, I was just doing spring collections. I had my 9 month old, and then the next day, actually, after I filed the LLC, I found out I was pregnant with my second. Um, so there's a lot going on, and that's kind of the path I continued on. Just trying to grow the business only from wholesale. I didn't have any e-commerce at this point. While also I kept having babies. um, and so I did it for 4 years. And I stopped when I was pregnant with my fourth. There were four that were just back to back. My oldest was 4 when my fourth was born. And I stopped. I knew it was pause. I had to have that language in my mind that it was
Mhm.
pause, not stop, to leave that door open for whatever timing I decided on. I didn't necessarily know what that would be, whether it was 1 year or 20 years. I knew at some point I would revisit it. But I was doing it all out of my house. I had no help with work or, with childcare, really. I was just feeling the weight of it. It was overwhelming, and my marriage was on the rocks. So I was using work as an escape. And instead of, sitting on the sofa at night and having hard conversations, I was getting on Skype with India or whatever after the kids went down, or diving into emails. So I knew I needed to pause to be able to reassess what I wanted, where things were going. I wanted to be able to look my kids in the eyes and tell them that, Dad and I tried everything and gave it my all, and that there wasn't something that was pulling me away that was like more important than that. Um, And so I stepped away for what ended up being 5 years and relaunched after I had decided to file for divorce when that fourth baby was going to kindergarten. That's when I relaunched in 2019. And I've been going since then.
Oh, wow. Thank you for sharing that. I think it's important to acknowledge that at any point in anyone's story, what seems to be we have it all together. I think as women, we try to paint this picture and show the world that we're strong and can do everything. But to run house and home, to run a business, to have a like healthy, fulfilling marriage, it's work. It's
Oh
so
my
much
gosh.
work, especially with a business. You're doing it by yourself. You don't have somebody that you can pass the baton to at the end of the day when you're,
Mm-hmm.
wanting to make dinner or like put your kids down to bed. Like you are the show. And if the
Yeah.
show doesn't have you, it doesn't go on. So I appreciate you sharing that. And I think you're also explaining the story of the career pause that a lot of women experience when even before they have kids. Like Ellen and I don't have kids, but the idea of knowing that one day we'll likely have to experience a career pause because, there's things that you have to prioritize and sometimes that falls on the mother and it's something that you have to kind of work through. And I don't know, Ellen, if you ever feel this like weird grieving process because you're
Mhm.
just like anticipating that things will look different and that there will be like choices that you have to make when it comes to your career, but choices that you have to make when it comes to supporting your family and like almost like you're working 12 steps ahead. Like we don't even have kids, but it's just something that you have to think about, especially as women. And so I think that there's a lot of dialogue nowadays about that career pause. But also too, like if I was to hire somebody, the first person I would hire is a mother because
Oh
Lord
my
knows
gosh.
they can do it all.
Moms get it
Um,
done.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's incredible too that you were able to have the perspective of saying this is a pause. I've worked this hard. I'm not setting this aside and like letting dust collect. Like I'm just knowing that it's I'm shutting the door for it right now, but that door will open up later. So take us through the experience of knowing when it was time to pick it back up and what was that, like internal conversation and dialogue and like next steps.
Well, I had to do something to put food on the table. I mean, it shifted from being I love this, it's giving me a creative outlet, let's see where it goes,
Mm-hmm.
to this is how I'm going to feed my babies and put a roof over our heads. So, it got real very quickly. And the drive and the fire and the motivation, um, you know, I didn't, I didn't have that when I started it,
Mm-hmm.
because it was just very much an outlet. It became this has to work. Um, and so I hit the ground running and relaunched in 2019. And then March of 2020, March 7th, I launched my website, which was really great timing
Oh my gosh.
before
Yeah.
everything shut down. So that was wonderful because I was able to then, keep doing it and kind of hang on by the skin of my teeth when all of my wholesalers were having issues or shutting down or, canceling orders or cutting orders. Um, so I feel very fortunate, in hindsight that the timing worked out as it did.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then we've just been growing like crazy since then. It's been wonderful. We're in about 175 boutiques across the United States now,
Incredible.
mainly United States. There are some
Mm-hmm.
international. And e-commerce is thriving. And, we're doing such fun collaborations and pajamas now and um, all sorts of stuff. So,
You're speaking Ellen's language.
I
Ellen
love
loves PJs.
oh my gosh, y'all, it's the best fabric. It is the best fabric I've ever put on my body in any pajama set ever. I'm not kidding. If you get some and hate it, just send them back. But they are outstanding.
Ellen
Like
and I will get a
I
matching
changed
set.
out of them
Yes.
to put
Yeah.
this on for this, and I'm going to change right back in.
Incredible.
Oh my God. Well, first of all, I like the divine timing of getting your
Right.
website launched in the beginning of March. It like what was that, a week
It was like
before
a week
everything closed
before
down?
things
Right.
started shutting down. Hmm.
That is insane.
I
And
know.
what a way to just, I'm sure that like launched you into success because where, like you said, other retailers and boutiques are having to close, roll back orders, like you're like, okay, come over here, like check out my website,
Mhm,
and able to capitalize that way. Like that's so awesome. And
mhm.
also, yes, I have to wear a matching PJ set like every night when I go to sleep. It's a
Okay.
non-negotiable. It
Oh,
makes me just like excited to sleep. It makes me
right?
happy. I
It brings
mean,
joy to it. This is the we like if we can have this is why I do what I do. If I can be part of a moment that brings women joy, just a little gift like that, no matter what else is going on in their day or how horrible of a fight they had with their partner or child or whatever, or that makes it worth it. Just
100%. Oh
that's why
my
I do it.
gosh. And I love like if we talk about, I say this pretty much almost every episode, but I love when you can tell how passionate someone is about like either their work or their business, and just like talking about pajamas might seem trivial to others, but to you, you're like, no, like this is why I do what I do. Like
Yeah.
that is what lights you up and gets you excited. Talk to us about like the recent success that your business has had. You said you're in over 100, almost 200 stores. It sounds like your business is booming. Like what are some of the lessons that you've learned since like shutdown and COVID, and how your business has succeeded since then?
Oh gosh. Lessons learned. Well, I feel like any lessons learned come from failures. I was asked a question years ago that was, what's your favorite failure? And that's like my favorite question I've ever been asked because
Hmm.
I love all of them. The only way, in my opinion, we experience real growth, whether on a business front or a relational front or personal front, is when we've messed up and made a mistake. And, through those missteps is then how we take new ones forward. And um, so I think the biggest lessons that I've learned through those failures are I really just trust my gut. I value other people's insight and opinions tremendously, and I think that that's what makes my team so great is having all of these amazing women um, lean in. But there have been times where I have wanted to put too much weight on someone else's insight or opinion, and looking at their experience, versus mine, and thinking, well, they have this, and I don't. But it's taught me to just go with your gut. I mean, we know what's best and when and why, but it's okay. We're all going to fail. And I think if we're going to fail, we need to just fail quickly and then adjust.
Yeah. Oh, that's incredible. I think with being an entrepreneur, we talk a lot about like you're the decision maker. And at the end of the day, any decision you make falls on you, whether the team is there to support you or not. And knowing too that the reason why you came back to starting the business was to be, the provider for your family. And so imagine, although there's been success, like that trait and that fire still drives you every day. But I love also, Ellen, we should add this to our question list of
100%.
your favorite failure, because now I'm like, oh, I feel like I should reflect that on, like
Mhm.
my own career. And it happens all the time, big or
Mhm.
small, but the weight of it, I imagine, as an entrepreneur just feels different. So,
It is.
um, in addition to failures, there's also successes, and I would love to dive into the big question for you. So, Sheridan, how do you currently define success for yourself?
Um, I don't see success as having anything to do with my business. It's still, while it is, how I provide for my children, it's just something I do. It's not, who I am.
Mhm.
And to me, I want being present for my children and raising them in a thoughtful and intentional way. That is the only thing that matters to me. I mean, if I grew this company to $1 billion and I had 6 kids who didn't want to give me the time of day, I really wouldn't care, And so I don't think success, at least for me, it has nothing to do with number of stores or dollar signs. It's really just about the relationships with the people that I love, and are we, pouring into each other as we should and filling each other up.
Mm-hmm. I love that perspective. And I love that your immediate response is nothing to do with my business. I think that's such a way to ground yourself and remind yourself that, you know, like you said, the numbers and the dollar signs at the end of the day are great, but it doesn't really matter to like what's the most important to you.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that perspective because
Yeah.
it's kind of a rat race sometimes chasing down goals and numbers, etc. But at the end of the day, what really matters to you most, your family
Yeah.
and
Well, and I think
wanting
it's
to.
just it's really just like a simulation,
Oh
honestly.
God, totally.
Like, what are we doing?
It's not that serious. I know. I was also going to say it's interesting. I mean, to give some backstory, when Ellen and I chose the name for the podcast,
Mhm.
just a job, right? Like it's very easy at the end of the day. If you've just had a crap day because of work, you're like, why am I giving this any more energy than it needs?
Yes.
It's just a job. And we're like, okay, that's easy for us to say because we're employed by an employer. But we always struggled with the idea of like entrepreneurs because
Mhm.
it becomes an identity to some because it's your everything. It's like probably a seventh baby to some degree for you
Oh,
in your
yeah.
mind, you know?
100%.
But I love that you've been able to remove yourself and create a very separate, not persona, but a separate person, a separate, like your business is an entity. It's not you. And I think that's a really fresh perspective. And maybe that part of that, I don't know if this has any influence, but like European culture, if there's any,
Yeah.
piece of that comes, because I think that like it's very American to just be like, I am a blank. I am my
Mhm.
job. And we put such an emphasis on what our title is, but like that means nothing,
Right.
so I
Well,
love that you've been able to create those too.
I had to learn it the hard way, though. When I was young and in my first marriage, I was putting on the picture of a fairy tale and
Mm,
had a blog and was posting, family photos from our private jet or, in the beach or it was not a fabrication because I was there, but it was a fabrication of the emotion of it.
Mm.
mm,
And it gave me um, it filled me up. Like I was defined by the way that people would receive what I put out there.
mm.
And it's so easy. I mean, that's what like Instagram is
Well,
today,
yeah.
isn't it?
Mhm.
Like the likes and the dopamine that we get from that. And you just can't do that to yourself because if you get filled up from the likes, then you will be impacted by the dislikes. And it's just, you're beholden to, whichever way the wind blows on there and these, opinions of people who don't know you and will never see you. And I think you just, I had to learn that is just all fake and doesn't matter. It just really doesn't matter.
Mhm.
It could all be taken
Mhm.
tomorrow and I have my healthy babies and family and that's fine.
Yeah.
It's
Again,
important.
that grounding sense of what's important to you and making the delineation between the two for like your own sanity at the end of the
Yeah.
day, right?
Mhm.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. We
Yeah.
can just get sucked in and
Mhm.
then we're done.
Yeah, which we certainly do not need that, especially with all the other things going on. So that is a whole other. I thought about it earlier, which is this is such a corporate way to think about it, but I was like, oh, you divide work and your family is like work is a different work stream for you, which again is like I'm like process mapping in my head, which sickening.
Ellen,
I'm like
come
I need to
on. We're
I
talking
need to
about
turn my
life.
work brain off, but just a different way to think about it, just a different lens, if you
Mhm.
will.
Yeah.
Sheridan, thank you for sharing that answer and kind of the additional fodder around it. I think everyone's answer is unique and different, and I just enjoy learning about other people's perspectives. So thank you. We're going to jump into a couple rapid fire questions for you. So, what is one thing you cannot live without to make it through the workday?
Um, I have super coffee every morning. It's this like
Mm.
Ooh.
mixture. It comes in a bottle, but it has like MCT oil in it and protein, and I mix it in a massive Yeti like the size of the Empire State Building with almond milk. I love it.
Okay, I need to
We're
check
beverage girls over here too, so we get it. Yeah, it's part of the routine. It makes you feel good. It's something you can look forward to. Okay,
Mhm.
super coffee. We get coffee a lot, but super coffee. That's the first time.
Google it. Oh my gosh, it's
Okay.
delightful. They have hazelnut and like vanilla. It's
Ooh,
amazing.
yum.
Lovely. Okay. Anything to hopefully taper down the caffeine. We're all got it. Let's see. Favorite workplace setting: in person, remote, or hybrid?
I love being with my people in person, which is unfortunate because most of my team is remote.
Mhm.
But when I get to go up to New York and like sit with my director of marketing, that's so fun. So I do like face to face. It's so connective in a different way.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm curious about this next one because in a corporate setting, I'm sure this could be easier. But what is your biggest pet peeve, like in the fashion space? I'll say.
My pet peeve, probably kind of what we touched on earlier, is just any like unkindness
Mm.
or negativity. I just don't understand why that exists, or I don't think there's a place for it anywhere. It doesn't benefit the person dishing it out or the one on the receiving end. So I don't get it.
No,
No, cross that
none of
out. No
that.
negativity.
Yeah,
Mhm.
nobody needs that. It's not helpful. That's what I think when people honk. I'm like, what are you doing? That's just you're
Right?
Yeah.
just being just so
Is
mean.
there's different types of honks. There's like a beep beep, the light's green. Did you
Right.
notice? And then there's
Mhm.
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
Like, okay,
Not
now we're all
necessary.
angry. That was
yeah.
unnecessary. That's kind of what it's like in the workplace, right? You didn't need to honk at me. Let's see. Last question. Best benefit that you've ever had, and this can be anything.
I've never had benefits. I've only ever worked for myself.
Creativity, flexibility. Okay, we'll say the Prada showroom, right? Like,
Flexibility. I do have flexibility. Working for myself
yeah.
Mhm.
allows me the flexibility to, pick up someone from preschool or, leave early if I need to get to a lacrosse game or
Mhm.
whatever.
Amazing.
So that's a massive benefit.
Lovely. Well, Sheridan, thank you so much for joining us and talking all about your story. I think you're one of the first on our oh my gosh, one of the first on our podcast. Work brain, turn it off.
We need super.
One of the first on our podcast to join and share their experience and be able to like truly make that distinction between work and life and bring your experience into it. So thank you so much for sharing.
Oh, this has been delightful. Thank you so much for having me. It was great to meet y'all.
Yes, absolutely. Well,
Amazing.
everyone, we will include in the show notes where you can find Sheridan. And I am so excited about all these upcoming, I don't want to say pop-ups. What's the technical word?
Collaborations. Yeah.
Thank you. Collaborations. So,
Yeah.
and as we mentioned, we'll get our PJ sets and
Yes.
we will work with our soon to be friends that are about to be mothers for your upcoming collaboration. So, all that said, everyone enjoy your Monday. And remember, at the end of the day, it's literally just a job. We'll see ya.